In this lecture, we are going to go over gizmos. Up until now, we focused a lot on building static elements in the world, structures like houses, walls, primitives. But what if you want your world to do something? What if you want a door to open, a button to trigger an action, or a player to teleport to a specified position? This is where a fantastic feature called gizmos comes into play. Think of gizmos as pre-built smart components that you can drag and drop into your world to add instant functionality and interactivity, often without writing a single line of code. They are the brains of your world's actions, designed to be easy to use for creators of all skill levels. In Meta Horizon, a gizmo is essentially a specialized object that has built-in logic and specific behaviors. When you place a gizmo in your world, it comes with predefined properties and actions that you can configure to achieve a desired effect. Instead of having to program every single interaction from scratch in TypeScript, gizmos provide ready-to-use solutions for common functionalities and use cases. You'll find gizmos in their own dedicated section within the build menu of the desktop editor, right alongside the shapes. So why might you want to use gizmos? First of all, they have no code interactivity. For many common actions, gizmos allows you to add complex behaviors to your world without needing any scripting knowledge. You simply place the gizmo, configure its properties, and connect it to other objects or events. Second, it allows for rapid prototyping. If you want to quickly test an idea for a game mechanic, or add some visual effects, or change the skybot, you can do so by using gizmos and prototype it in minutes, speeding up your development process. Gizmos also provide reliable and pre-tested functionalities, some of which come directly from Meta. You don't have to worry about bugs in these basic mechanics as they're handled by the gizmo itself. And for beginners, gizmos are an excellent learning tool to understand how interactive elements work in the virtual environment before diving into more complex scripting. They give you a visual representation of cause and effects. Let's have a look at a few example gizmos that I dropped into the world. The first one that you'll find in the gizmos is a trigger zone. And as the name suggests, it is a trigger, an area of action that can either be activated by interacting with it or simply entering on it. If we look in the properties panel on the right, we can see the behavior. We can see it can either be triggered on players entering it or interacting with it, or objects with a particular object tag. So by default, it's set to players and enabled. We can also see if it's selectable in screen mode, which means you can interact with it on devices such as the web and mobile, and we can ignore client smoothing for now. So if I enable selectable in screen mode for now, and leave the interaction distance and the interaction prompt as is, then we wait for the world to save, start the world simulation, and preview. From here, we can see this little trigger gizmo has an interaction prompt. So whenever I get into the range of 2.5 meters from it, the prompt appears. So this can be used to create things like buttons that open doors, or zones that have an effect or react to when a player steps into a zone. We also got the mirror gizmo, which, as the name suggests, acts like a mirror in your world. If we go into the properties or the behavior of it, we can see that we can enable and disable photo capture capabilities. We can toggle name tags, so you can see your name tags in it, a frame or border, even change its aspect ratio if you'd like, level of depth, radius, and resolution, and all that nice stuff. You cannot build this through code or scripts, but you can create it using a gizmo. So sometimes gizmos provide us with functionality that we can't simply script. Next, we have the very simple text gizmo, which once you enter some text, you can see it being reflected in the text gizmo. By default, it's set to auto fit, but I do recommend setting it to a fixed font size to ensure consistency. There we go. We can give our house a number on the door There we go. So that is the text gizmo. Let me just position it slightly better. Perfect. So, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we'd like, we can also change the color to something like brown to match the door a bit more. Maybe something like this. There we go. Next up, which you might have seen in the corner, is the particle effects gizmo, which can be found just here, particle effects. Once dropped in the world, it has a default preset, which if we play to preview, has this sort of smoke effect. It has play on start, which means it will play when the world starts. So we can disable that, and we can toggle looping. So once it finishes, it will automatically play again. It's got quite a few default presets here. Things like magic buildup is nice for effects to your items. Hit rings is great for conveying interaction to players. For instance, when they press a button, it's a nice effect to have to convey that that button has in fact been pressed. You also got other things like fireworks for success, confetti bursts to celebrate, and all that good stuff. Let's stop that there. We'll go over each gizmo in more details in future videos, but this is just to give you a nice showcase. The last one I want to cover is the environment. By default, the horizon environment gives you this nice blue sky, but you can always change this using the environment gizmo. You can toggle it on and off, and it won't really have an effect. But if I change this to something like, let's go with day panorama. I like this one a lot. So day panorama gives you a much more neutral sunset-like panorama view, much nicer to work with. Now we can also toggle it on and off to bring back the old sky dome if you'd like, but I tend to just keep this in the world and zero it out on the coordinates and then put it under the map because we don't need to access it anymore. It's worth mentioning that we can also change things like fog density and even disable the starting grid, but I'm going to keep that on because we need to work on it. And yeah, that is the... Oh, let me just merge this up so that there is no fighting. There we go, of the faces. So that is the gizmos in a nutshell. There's a lot of gizmos to explore, and I do encourage you to try out this menu for yourself before you carry on into the following videos that describe these in more detail. So yeah, have fun.